everyone, and welcome to English 112. This video is going to talk about the highlights of the syllabus. It does not take the place of the syllabus, however, because there's a lot more information there for you. But I'm just going to talk about the items that students have the most questions about. If you'd like to see the full syllabus, it's on Blackboard for you to view at any time. The course description for English 112 is writing and research in the disciplines. So in a nutshell, basically you're going to be writing argumentative papers that require a lot of research. So research is an important component for this class. Also, they're all argumentative papers, so which is different than your 111 class, which probably focused on compare and contrast or cause and effect or more informative. This class is going to be more persuasive essays. So that's something to keep in mind. Instructor information. So my name is Professor Melanie Morgan. My email is as follows on the screen here, mlmorgan3@waketech.edu. For other information, office phone, office location, office hours, please view Blackboard and or the syllabus for this information. Hey guys, so when you email me, and definitely email me whenever you have any questions, I want to help you, but always include your class and section number in the subject line. I have multiple English 111s and English 112s and LITs, so narrowing down who you are is very important, especially in the beginning when I don't know you yet. And sometimes I have 6 KDs, so please just make sure you have your first and last name, make sure you have their section number. That way I'm answering your question properly. I'm not telling you the due date for another class. You must use your WakeTech email. I'm not allowed to respond. A lot of times it just blocks like Gmail accounts and things like that. So make sure that you're using your WakeTech account, or else sometimes I won't even get your email. Also, make sure to check your email before your syllabus before emailing me. A lot of times the answer is in the syllabus or on the lessons part of Blackboard. I want you to email me, guys, if you have a question, but check there first. A lot of times you could answer your own question. Please note, guys, that I cannot answer emails from your parents, friends, people who aren't you. I've had that happen a few times where someone was sick, or in this situation, I'm not allowed to share any information to anyone about you other than to you. The course entry quiz is very important. So this is something that you're going to do in the very beginning of class, and do it as soon as you can do it. You're required to take the course entry quiz for a hybrid or an online class, and it confirms your entry into the class. So before, if you don't take it, then you'll get kicked out of the class after the 10% mark, and you will not get a refund. So this is important to take it. Students who fail to take the class before the 10% mark of the semester by 11:59 will be withdrawn from the class without warning. So also to keep in mind, until you take this course entry quiz, you won't be able to see a lot of things, especially lessons, on the Blackboard website. So you'll take it, and then it'll let you see a lot of lessons, and you'll be able to start work. So if you wait until the very last minute to take the course entry quiz, you might miss assignments, and you will not be able to make those up. So make sure to take it as soon as possible. So technical issues, they do happen. However, if you experience an issue with Blackboard, you should attach your work to an email, and send it to me immediately before the due date, guys. Before the due date, it's important. Don't forget to explain your issue, preferably with a screenshot in the email. I've had people just send their work with a blank email, and I have no idea what to do with it. So explain your situation. Tell me why you're sending it. This way, I do not have to deduct your grade for being late in most instances, since you can prove that you had the assignment before the deadline. This is important, guys, even if it's your own technical issue. So, and I have to be able to open it, so make sure it's a Word document and all that. Monitor all student technical difficulties because there are a lot. Things, like your computer has a virus, or your internet access went out, or something like that. That, unfortunately, is your responsibility. So you really need to kind of keep up with that. Therefore, make sure that you submit your submission, check your submission to see if they're successful. I've had a lot of people forget to upload their document, or they didn't use the proper Microsoft Word, and I can't open it. I have to grade what I receive. So unfortunately, if I don't get something, it's late, then you might not be able to turn it in. So make sure you check with me. If you're not sure if it went through, submit it early and then email me or something like that. So if you realize that you've submitted the wrong document, you should contact me immediately. Same thing, add the file to the email. If the correct document is submitted late, the grade will be penalized according to the late essay policy. So you might not be able to turn it in, particularly if it's like the final exam or something. So save all your drafts appropriately. Those kind of things. You may want to save your drafts on a flash drive in case your computer crashes, that sort of thing. I've heard a lot of those kind of problems happen, so I don't want them to happen to you. The Save Assigned link will close 72 hours after the essay due date, so please contact me immediately if you have any problems. Feedback. I will provide feedback for many assignments on Blackboard, including major assignments and some pre-writing assignments. This feedback is mandatory and may provide you with crucial information about your grade attendance or future assignments, so please don't ignore it. I don't repeat feedback, so if I've already written something on, say, an outline, I won't write it on the rough draft too. So please, check all your documents when you go to write your rough draft. If you cannot view this feedback, you have 1 week from the date that the feedback is posted to inform your instructor. I suggest that you download, screenshot, or print any information that you might need for future assignments, because there has been situations in the past that Blackboard removes feedback, and if it's been more than 1 week, I am not able to regrade or provide new feedback for that if it's past that time. So, check it early. Don't wait a month to check it out and then ask me to regrade it or something. So just keep on top of that. This is an important slide. Attendance is always important. Basically, Wake Tech's rule is that you can miss 10% of the class, but no more. So you can't miss any more than 10%. So depending on your format of your class, whether it's a seated class, a hybrid, or an online, and if we're meeting Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or if we're meeting Tuesday, Thursday. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday classes, for a seated class, you can miss 5 classes, no questions asked. But if you miss that 6th class, then you may be withdrawn. For the Tuesday, Thursday classes, you can miss 3 classes, no questions asked. But if you miss that 4th class, you can be withdrawn. Remember, there's no distinction between excused and unexcused absences, okay? So I'm not going to ask you why. You don't need to tell me why you're missing. You're an adult. You choose. But it's pretty strict when you go over your allowed absences. So please, take into consideration if you want to go on a vacation or something and then you get sick later on, that you're taking a risk. So make sure that you are in class for at least 90% of the class. Please keep track of your own absences. However, you can always email me and I can update on your absences. If it's a seated class and you know that you're going to be absent in advance, you can try to tell me by email and maybe we can work something out. Maybe we can take quiz early or anything you're going to miss that day. It's possible that we could do it early. I will not let you do it after the date is missed. And please don't tell me verbally in class because there's so much going on that it's hard for me to remember. So an email is the best way to do that. Okay, let's talk about hybrid classes. If this is a hybrid class, you're going to have 1 online attendance and 1 classroom attendance per week. So which means I'm going to see you in class one day, and then you're also going to have an online assignment due. So both of these records will be combined. So you get, if it's a Tuesday, Thursday hybrid class, then you get 3 absences, which means, if you miss 1 seated class, that's an absence. If you miss an assignment online on a Tuesday, for instance, that's an absence. So they combine. So just logging into Blackboard or partially completing an assignment will not satisfy the attendance requirement for the online portion. So, if you just kind of log on. I've had people sort of not really answer a quiz, or turn in one page when the assignment called for 5 or something like that. That wouldn't satisfy your attendance. You'd still be counted absent for that. If you're strictly online, same thing happens. You can't just log on Blackboard or partially complete an assignment, but you'll have days of the week that are designated for the online class. So say it's Tuesday, Thursday online class. You're going to have something due on Tuesday, and you're going to have something to do on Thursday. If you do not complete whatever is due on Tuesday, that's an absence and a 0. Same thing about Thursday. If you do not complete an assignment on that Thursday, it's an absence and a 0. So again, you get the 3 classes, no questions asked, which is about a week and a half a class, a little more. And then you after that, you could miss your 4th class because you may be dropped if that's a Tuesday, Thursday. Okay. If you have any questions about attendance, please email me in the beginning, because it's something that kind of creeps up on some folks, especially online and hybrid classes, where it's sort of easy to miss in the beginning when you're not used to the format. So just make sure that you are reading everything on Blackboard, and make sure that you're following along with the lessons. This slide is basically for seated classes only, but it's just talking about leaving a class early or arriving late. Basically, guys, if you do it once a semester, it's not going to be a problem. I know that things happen. I know parking's kind of terrible in the beginning of the school year usually. But if it's a reoccurring thing, I'm going to have to use these rules here, which is basically 2 tardies or leaving early would be it would equal 1 absence. And again, that's not something, if you do it once, I'm not going to ever say anything to you. But if it happens over and over again, we're going to have a problem. So just make sure that you come to class early, especially if it's a short class, 50 minutes to an hour and 15 minutes. If you come 15 minutes early, that's a good portion of the class. So, and you probably missed a lot of the updates and homework and that kind of thing. So, please, even if you're late a couple minutes, that's still being late, still a distraction. So, if you ever miss more than 1/3 of the class, then you can be counted totally absent. So, you can't come 25 minutes late to a 50-minute class and be expected to get full credit for being there. But again, that's only something that I'm going to enforce if it's reoccurring. Usually in a 112 class, I don't have that problem. Okay, so you're going to have weekly folders. If it's an online class, that will open up on a certain day. I don't have it written here because I do change the days per semester. So please check Blackboard for the day that it opens. You will have multiple days to complete that online work. In other words, do not wait until the due date to submit or begin this work, because it likely will take you longer than a day to do. Especially, the beginning assignments are sort of easier, quicker assignments, but then you're going to be writing rough drafts and essays and proposals that if you write them that day, they're not probably going to be that great. So therefore, if you get sick that last day, having technical issues or any other last minute issue will not earn an assignment extension because you chose to wait until the last minute to complete the assignment. So if you have a week and it's due on, say, Thursday, and you waited till Thursday to start it, and then that Thursday you get sick, you waited till the very last minute. If you have a seated class, most of the seated class work will be assigned and reviewed in class, okay? So a tip, here's just like tips and notes. So do not use your cell phone when logging onto Blackboard, because the mobile view does not show everything, particularly with feedback, guys. There's some issues with it. So if you're using your cell phone and you have a problem or you can't see something, or I would use a PC as much as possible, because it's not like the mobile view is going to tell you, hey, this is missing. So try to use a PC when you are able to. Also, make sure to use Microsoft Word when submitting work. I've had a lot of people submit through Google Docs, or they submit through Pages. That is not accepted by SafeAssign or Blackboard, so I'm not able to open that. So please make sure you're using Microsoft Word as much as possible. I hear you can get it free temporarily as a student through Wake Tech. But I'm not sure how to do that. You'll have to find out through those resources. But I've heard several students get it for, by semester. Also, Blackboard's going to accept PDF files, but Word documents tend to be less problematic. If you do use a PDF file, an image of the PDF file will not be accepted. It has to be an actual PDF file, okay? I've had some people take pictures of it. So that's important because I have at least 1 or 2 students do that at the very beginning, and it causes them to either miss an assignment, get a 0 for it, or get deductions. So please be careful with that. There are 2 required textbooks for this class. One you may have already bought for 111. So please see the syllabus for that because the textbooks change, the editions change so often. Please check out the syllabus. So there are 4 different venues to get extra help. And I really would suggest getting extra help early because the essays in this class are worth a lot. If you do poorly on one of the essays, it's really going to be detrimental for your grade, especially if it's below a 70. So you do not want to do poorly. So we have the ILC, which is first, and it's tutoring in all subjects. So the good thing about the ILC is they have really good hours. It's more extended hours than the Real Center. It's all subjects, so you can go for any class. You can make appointments. That's nice. So you'll know you'll be seen right away when you get there. And you could they even do like weekly appointments if you want to come every day on a Wednesday or something like that. So that's really nice. The ILC may help you a little bit more with the grammar than the Real Center will. The Real Center will not help you as much with grammar line by line. So that's the ILC. The con of the ILC is you're not always getting an English instructor. So, everybody has their own strong points. If you get a math instructor for it, it might not be as helpful as an English instructor. So just keep that in mind. Then you have the Real Center and the Virtual Real Center, the V Real Center. So the Real Center is the one on campus. It's in PLM for main campus and Building E for North Campus. And you can only bring your English papers there, but you should bring them printed out. You cannot bring a digital copy. And you should have your ID or ID number with you. Those are the 2 things you need. So you can just show up. It's usually open from 9 to 2 on weekdays. And you'll just be seen in the order in which you come. So there's first come, first serve. So, there's a chance that I'll be in there. So you can always ask for me if it's my time. So that will happen. You sit down for about 20 minutes and you get whatever help you need within 20 minutes. Now, just something to keep in mind. The instructor will not go line by line and edit your paper. That's your job. But if you say, hey, I have troubles with comma splices, then the instructor will say, hey, this is a comma splice. This is how to fix it. Do it for the rest, But it's not an editing service, okay? So the Virtual Real Center is the same deal, everything I just said, except it's online only. You don't actually go to the campus. There's a forum where you can send your paper, the assignment, and you fill out a little form they give you, and you email it to the Virtual Real Center. And then the Virtual Real Center will get back to you in a few days. You can only use the Virtual Real Center if you're in online class at the moment, so that's something to consider. There's also DSS services, which is disability services for testing and classroom accommodations if you need those. Okay, guys, so cancellations. So for a seated class, if a seated class is ever canceled, please check Blackboard for instructions for a makeup assignment before the next class. You will have a makeup assignment. It will be graded. I'm required to give makeup assignments. Otherwise, we have to make up the class, and I don't think anybody really wants to do that. So please check the Blackboard assignment as quickly as possible. There will be a due date on it. And I'll post those cancellations as quickly as I can. And sometimes I don't know until you know that there's a cancellation at all. So I doubt there'll be a note on the door if you do end up driving to campus, because we just don't do that anymore. So that's for seated classes. And that also pertains to seated on hybrid classes, okay? Now, if you have an online class or a hybrid online portion of the class, if the campus is ever canceled for unplanned reasons, such as a hurricane or snow, the online portion of the class is not affected unless otherwise posted. In other words, an online assignment's due date will not change because the campus has an unscheduled cancellation. So if campus is closed, that doesn't affect online classes. Basically, there's no change we don't need the campus. So just keep that in mind. Also, when you're checking for cancellations, check the waketech.edu website or the local news, but make sure you're looking for Wake Tech Community College on the local news and not Wake County Schools. Sometimes people get those two confused. You can also sign up for a message service, which is really nice. It's on the Wake Tech website, where it will message you whenever there's sort of a different change, a canceled class, or anything that's going on with campus that you'll need. And they're not going to text you for little things either. This is just kind of security issues. So I think that service is really nice to sign up for. Just so you don't have to drive all the way to campus and then learn a class is canceled. That's kind of frustrating. I'm repeating myself here, guys, but please, please, please remember to submit your documents in the correct formats listed here. You may not submit images to Blackboard, images of your paper, I mean. So those are the only 3 file formats accepted. I did mention PDF earlier as well, so I guess there's 4. But Save Assign must be able to scan your paper for plagiarism. So really the best way to do it is to use Microsoft Word. That's the easiest. You're not going to have any problem with your format changing. If you use Google Docs and you change the Google Doc into a Microsoft Word format, there might be some formatting changes there that you have to change. So that's something to kind of look out for. If you have a Mac, I see that happening sometimes where the format changes, and you are graded on the format, meaning the spacing of your paper, the margins, things like that. So, all right, so classwork here. We're talking about classwork, homework, quizzes, that sort of thing. These items will not be taken late. You can turn them in early. And again, I'm repeating myself here because I always have a couple of people ask to submit work late, even though I try to make it very clear that you cannot submit it late. You can only submit it early. Particularly quizzes, guys, because I release the answers as soon as the due date passes, so that way people know what they did wrong and they have time to study and things like that. So I can't give you a quiz that I've already given everybody the answers to. So just keep that in mind, okay? And then, of course, take that course entry quiz as soon as possible. Essays. So again, you're gonna have 2 major essays in here. They're about 5 pages. Research papers due. They are big. Take them very seriously. Spend a lot of time on them. They are the majority of your grade. So they'll make up for the majority of your grade. You'll use outside research. You'll complete an annotated bibliography for each, and a proposal and a rough draft. Do not plagiarize in any way. Each essay going to include a rubric, so that way you'll know really what I'm looking for, and if content is weighted more than, say, grammar, that sort of thing. Since this is 112, I sort of expect the grammar to be pretty good. So again, if that's not your strong point, try to get help, especially for the essays. If you know that you barely passed 111, you should be getting help with the essays. So take that in consideration. Don't just go and wing it the first time, because like I said, there's only 2 essays, and if you don't do well on the first, that's a good portion of your grade. Also, essay length is not a suggestion. So 5 full pages doesn't mean 4 pages in one line at the top of the 5th, okay? So please follow that format. You will lose at least 10 points per half page missing from a final essay. Kind of think of it like you left a page of a test incomplete. Of course, you're going to expect major deductions, okay? So just keep in mind, follow the directions, and you'll do great. The only thing I take late in this class are the essays, and I'm going to tell you why. I realize emergencies do occur. We all have lives outside of these classes. So I understand that, and I don't want something to happen the day of where you're turning in your essay and you get a 0 on it. That wouldn't be fair. So I do take late essays. How this works is you can submit it up to 3 days late. Okay, you'll lose 10 points for every additional calendar day that it's late. And then after the third full day, so that's 72 hours, I will no longer take the essay. So this includes weekends, this includes holidays. It's 72 hours. It's not the next time I see you in class, okay? So keep that in mind. This is only for emergencies, though. You should not be turning in essays late if you do not have an emergency. That would be very silly to lose, say, 20 points in addition to the deductions from your paper. So, don't kind of get yourself in trouble before you even turn the essay, okay? So, again, this is just for emergencies. If you have to use it, use it. But I do not suggest it if you can help it. Okay, so rough drafts. A rough draft is a participation grade, which means that it does not necessarily indicate what a student would make on a final submission. Usually rough draft grades are a lot better than final essays because I'm not reading them from the first word to the last word, and I'm not critiquing them, I'm not editing them. I'm looking for overall effort. I'm looking for certain criteria that I tell you that's due for the rough draft, such as page length or quotes or formatting, things like that. So if you hit the criteria of the rough draft, you're going to do very well on the rough draft grade. However, that does not indicate that you're going to make that same grade for the final submission, because remember, I'm going to read it and critique the content more. It's a lot easier, the rough draft, than, remember, it's supposed to be rough. So I don't expect it to be perfect. The final paper, I expect to be near perfect. So, because you've had, more than a month to write it. So that's something to keep in mind. If you're a seated class, students must come to class prepared with a completed and printed draft on that day. Not 20 minutes late, okay, because by then I've already paired you up. So that's something important, and I'm going to go over that in class the day before the rough drafts due. Okay. Grading might not seem important right now, but it will be. So there are 2 annotated bibliographies. Together, they're going to be 15% of your grade. Their essay 1 is 20%, so that's a big bulk. Essay 2 is 25%, which is a quarter of your grade. All the classwork you do the entire semester is 25%, okay? And then the final exam will be 15%. We work on a 10-point scale. Grades are not rounded up at the end of the year, okay? So an 89.9 is still a B. So that will become important towards the end for you, I'm sure. Save Assign. If you've never used Save Assign before, basically it's a device. When you submit your work to Blackboard, remember it has to be Microsoft Word, and then Save Assign is going to scan it, and it's going to look for any plagiarism, anything that was taken from another student's paper, or online, or anything that's not properly cited. If you take something and you properly cite it, guys, you're fine, of course. Also, keep in mind, if you wrote a paper for another class, guys, you can't self-plagiarize, so you can't resubmit a paper that you used in another class, or even just a line or two. So don't reuse anything. So that's something that's important. Again, if you cite everything properly, you're going to be just fine. That includes paraphrases. So remember, you have to cite that as well. So Safe Assign checks your paper for plagiarism. Wake Tech takes plagiarism very seriously. So if you're caught even with a line of 5 pages and you only have a line of plagiarism, you can get a 0 on the paper. If it's a big essay, you'll get a 0 in the class, and you'll be sent to the student dean office. So please don't do that. No, but I hate having to tell you that that's found. If you're unsure, guys, before, and you're scared about plagiarism, you can always shoot me an email and ask me how to deal with citation, or in the rough draft, that's a great time to highlight something and say, hey, how do I cite this? Or but once it's submitted as a final essay, there's nothing I can really help you with, because you've already submitted it, you've already tried to put it in. So make sure to not plagiarize, okay? So final exam, if you took 111 at Wake Tech, you are familiar with this final exam. It's slightly different because it's a different type of essay, but you're familiar with the format. So there's going to be a final exam for this class. It's 15% of your grade. You're going to write an essay in a time setting. If you're a seated class, you're going to come to campus and write it on campus. If you're a hybrid class, you might write it on campus, or you might write it online, depending on the day that you're assigned. If you're an online class, you're going to get on Blackboard, and there's going to be a timer that's going to time you while you write. So you won't be able to leave your seat. You're going to have to finish it in that time period. You will not be giving the prompt until you open that window or you come to class. So it's 110 minutes. It's going to be an essay. Don't worry about it yet, because we're just starting class, but know that you're going to have enough time if you do the proper prep. You're going to need your textbook, so that's important. If you bought a digital form of the textbook, that might cause problems in a seated class, so keep that in mind. And if you have any questions about that, you can always email me. So important dates, this is something that's listed on the syllabus, and usually includes holidays or spring break or fall break or things like that, PD days. Of course, they change every semester, so I'm not writing them here, but you can check your syllabus and I have that information for you. So check your syllabus often. Again, so the syllabus has like a plan that I have outlined for the entire semester. And a lot of times if nothing strange goes on, like a hurricane or a missed day of some kind, I pretty much follow that pretty strictly. However, it's tentative, which means that it might change if we get behind on a point or something that I might spend more time on. But just kind of keep that, especially if you're absent one day or you're going to be absent in the future, you can check to see what you'll miss that day. Of course, there's days that you don't want to miss, especially days where I'm going over an essay, if I'm explaining an essay to you. So I do want to explain how it works. You'll see here on Monday the 24th, this is an example. It's saying that we're going to read pages 7 to 18 about essay structure. So you should come to class already have read pages 7 to 18 on the 24th. That's not homework. That's something you should have already done before that date. Okay, so that's how I'm writing it for you. And again, this is just an example. This is not your real syllabus. Also on Blackboard, I'm going to have your lessons every day, and that's going to be more updated. I'm going to update that every week, so you can follow the lessons format. Hopefully no one's going to need to withdraw from the class, but if you do, there's a few things that you need to know. So first of all, there's a 10% point of the class. This is the beginning of the year. Before the 10%, you can go on WebAdvisor and drop yourself, and if you need to sign up for another class or something like that. After the 10% point, you're going to have to email me with the following information: your name, the course and section number, your ID number, and why you're dropping or withdrawing. And then I can drop you as well. You can drop yourself at this point through WebAdvisor too. But it's always good to know when that 60% point of the semester is, which is called the W period. Because if you withdraw before that 60% mark, the W period, it does not affect your GPA. So if you know that you're going to fail a class, not just mine, any 16-week class, you want to drop or withdraw before that W period so your GPA is not affected. This is particularly important if you want to transfer to a university. Withdrawals after that 60% point, that W period, will be designated as a WF, which will affect your GPA negatively. So that's good to know, okay? Okay, guys, so that's pretty much just the class in a nutshell. There's a lot more information on the syllabus that you should check out. But if you have any questions, please email me.